Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. I'm here to talk about the scientific and ethical perspectives on animal cloning. I've chosen to talk about the development of animal cloning due to my lifelong interest in science. I also believe that it's important to be aware and informed about animal cloning since it could have a large effect on society. So, what is cloning? Cloning is the scientific process where scientists replicate DNA in order to create an exact copy of that organism. It'd be similar to you having an identical twin, if you don't already have one, that is. In the past, the idea of animal cloning seemed forever out of our reach. Today, that is simply not the case, as animal cloning is quickly becoming an unignorable reality. Personally, I was inspired to talk about this topic because I recently saw on social media a video of a cloned cat named Cece. One of the reasons this video became so popular was because Cece was the first cloned domesticated cat. Many of us would love to replicate our pets so that they're always with us. With animal cloning becoming more successful and popular, it's important to understand the prospects of this idea and how it could affect the future. Although this is a somewhat controversial topic, the development of animal cloning has had a large effect on the production of livestock, medical advancements, and the preservation of species. To go over what I will be discussing with you today, I will first inform you of the impact cloning has had on the production of livestock, then we will discuss the impact cloning has had on medical advancements, and lastly we will talk about the impact cloning has had on the preservation of species. Before we get into it, I want to state that I am here to present this topic in a non-biased fashion with the goal of representing both perspectives equally. With that being said, let's start discussing the impact cloning has had on the production of livestock. From a scientific perspective, cloning allows for the healthiest options when producing livestock. This is the case since the animals don't have to be subjected to growth hormones in order to reach their desired production rate. This also allows farmers to increase the quality of their herd by being able to choose what traits they want in their livestock. From an ethical standpoint, cloning has had a lot of risks. One of those risks involves the increased loss of pregnancy with the animals. A review article written in 2000 by Lawrence Smith called Benefits and Problems with Cloning Animals states, many aspects of embryo and fetal mortality seem to suggest that the placenta does not develop normally. Although the causes of poor placental development remain unknown, many of the genes that control both placental and fetal growth and differentiation are imprinted. Loss or modification of the genetic imprints in cloned embryos could be the cause of observed abnormalities. To simplify what the article was stating, cause of miscarriages in the livestock could be due to the lack of genetic variation or the lack of genetic code. With the increase in miscarriages, there has also been an increase in animal abuse, specifically in that of cloned animals, and in animal welfare problems. This is not yet proven, but it suggests that the cloning promotes the objectification of the livestock, which is what leads to these issues in the first place. Both perspectives bring valid points to the discussion, and it's important that we consider both perspectives when looking at the future of cloning livestock. Now that we have looked at the impact cloning has had on livestock, let's shift gears and talk about the impact it has on medical advancements. From a scientific point of view, cloning could have a large effect on vaccines and the growth of new organs. Scientists have discovered that they may be able to take specific genes from an animal cell and clone its genetic makeup to aid in the production of vaccines. Doing this allows them to create drug-producing animals that would carry only the genetic material they selected previously in the cloning process. With that being said, this would also mean the offspring of the drug-producing animals would have the same genetic makeup. They would also be able to bypass the issue of genetic reshuffling that occurs with sexual reproduction, instead being left with the multiple copies of the same clone, allowing for consistent production. Along with the production of vaccines, scientists have been working on the cloning of stem cells. This research could help in the development of treatments for diseases or even the growth of whole organs. From an ethical point of view, the cloning of animal cells for human gain can be perceived as morally wrong. A real concern for most is that the animals are put through intense pain and suffering for animal testing. Even after all the testing being done, the research is not proven to be an absolute success. Therefore, the animals could have endured rigorous testing for nothing. Even though the benefits of animal cloning seem like a great stepping stone for medical advancements, there are a lot of ethical concerns that should be taken into account as well. This decision should be based on both sides. Now that we have looked at the impact cloning has had on medical advancements, let's now focus on the impact cloning has had on the preservation of endangered or extinct species. Nowadays, there are many species dying off due to the climate we live in. One of the ways scientists are looking to fix this issue is through the cloning of endangered species. The idea is that if scientists can clone simple livestock, they should be able to replicate the process and use it to save dying species. as long as the species is able to provide healthy cells for the cloning process. Without healthy cells, the cloning process would not work. Another thing that scientists have been working towards is the cloning of DNA from an extinct species to bring it back. This would be similar to what occurred in Jurassic Park. Instead of the dinosaurs, they are working towards cloning woolly mammoths. From an ethical perspective, many fear that bringing back extinct or endangered species could be overstepping boundaries when it comes to how much power human beings should have. Another issue that can arise is the fact that the species may not be able to survive even if humans are able to bring them back from extinction. An article called Why Clone, written by the Genetic Science Learning Center, states, "One big challenge endangered species face is the loss of genetic diversity, and cloning does nothing to address this problem. This means that species went extinct for a reason, and bringing them back does not fix that reason that they went extinct in the first place. It is likely that the same issue will arise again, and scientists will have to repeat the process. Although it would be nice to preserve a species that is at risk of going endangered, there are many factors to consider besides purely the benefits." To wrap up our discussion, we talked about the impact cloning has had on livestock, then we talked about the impact cloning has on medical advancements, and lastly we talked about the impact cloning has had on the preservation of species. It is important to make sure all the facts are known about the topic before we as a society can reach a final decision. Although this is a somewhat controversial topic, the development of animal cloning has had a large effect on the production of livestock, medical advancements, and the preservation of species. In conclusion, there are many potential pros and cons when it comes to the cloning of animals for human benefit. There are individuals from both sides of the arguments that support their cause. At the end of the day, it is important to stay informed about controversial topics such as animal cloning to understand where you side.